At TLC 2020, Kevin Owens could not overcome 2 against 1. On Christmas Day, Roman and Jey outsmarted Kevin Owens in a classic steel cage match. Kevin Owens demanded a rematch against Jey Uso. Adam Pearce reluctantly granted the request, and after beating Jey with a stunner, KO went to pursue Roman Reigns. But Roman was waiting for him, and the bloodline beatdown of Kevin Owens closed that show by throwing KO off the stage and through a table. With KO out of the picture, what will the consequences be for Adam Pearce for his actions? It's time to rewind the bloodline. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below of what your thoughts are on what we've been covering here on the Bloodline Rewind. It's the best way to support. But going back to last week, we ended with our review with another beatdown of Kevin Owens, with this being treated like Kevin was going to be written off for some time. However, even more interesting was the subplot of Adam Pearce and his betrayal of Roman by booking the Owens and Jey match against his wishes. We had initially planned for 3 Smackdowns this week, but we are literally jam-packed. So Goose, why don't you get us kicked off with the following Smackdown?
So we are at the January 8th, 2021 edition of Smackdown. We have 2 title matches tonight and a gauntlet match to determine who the next challenger will be for the Universal Champion. We're going to kick things off with the head of the table, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns.
So Roman comes out, Paul to his left, Jey to his right. Graves corrects Cole by saying that this is now main event Jey Uso. And Cole reminds us last week, Roman sent KO to the hospital, and tonight we will find out who he is facing in 3 weeks at the Royal Rumble. The gauntlet match, the gauntlet match is King Corbin, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, the Liberator Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke Nakamura.
And dude, I saw this and I was like, oh, I wonder who the winner of this could be. Like, this is like an AEW battle royal where it's Will Ospreay versus Serpentico, the Butcher and the Blade, Christopher Daniels, the Bunny. Like, all these people are just like, okay. And then at the end, well.
So Cole tells us that the gauntlet is an elimination match where 2 start. Once one man is pinned or submitted, he goes to the back and the next person comes out. Graves tells us it's the luck of the draw. Cole and Graves shower Roman with all of the adulations. Paul daps Roman and Jey, and the 3 make their way into the ring, and they are piping in "You suck" chants here. I hated it because if you're literally watching the monitors, nobody is saying that. That's the only criticism that I have of the Thunderdome, is that they're piping in so much BS here.
Every time the guys make their ring entrances, they are obviously prompted to thumbs down, but everyone is then checking their phones. So it's not even like anybody's mouth's moving. They're all looking down. It really does take you out there too. Yeah. So Roman wants to address what happened last week to Kevin Owens. And he starts off, he says,
I like Kevin Owens.
He's a pain, but I respect someone as ambitious as Kevin Owens.
Someone who keeps getting up.
Who won't stay down. And he says that KO put me in a tough spot.
He backed me up against the wall.
And I had to do what I had to do. Roman then says he loves everyone.
I love the whole roster.
And that's what makes a great leader. He cares about everybody here. He cares about their well-being, their families.
I'm putting food on everybody's table around here.
But now, KO doesn't have that opportunity.
And this isn't because of Roman, he says.
People are trying to blame me, Paul.
And Paul looks at him like he said that the sky is green and the grass is blue.
It's just so confused, man. I loved it.
And people are pointing the finger at me, saying I'm the bad guy. Oh, there's somebody to blame. And if you're going to point the finger, point it in the right direction. And that right direction is at
Adam Pearce.
Yeah, Roman summons Adam Pearce. And Paul looks at the announcers. He gets out of the ring and goes,
Pearce!
Roman Reigns is calling for him to get out now? I love that, man. He says,
he's making for lousy television without him out here.
I love that they're like pulling it back a little bit and making it look like the Bloodline genuinely runs the show.
Yes, not just like the title and even the booking, but like the production. Really cool stuff.
Graves reminds us that it was Adam Pearce who made the match, which resulted in Owens getting tossed off the stage and through a table. Pearce comes to the ring and asks what he can do for Roman, and Roman says, "What can you do for me?" And he tells him to watch this video package.
And it's a standard package. We cut back to Roman winning the cage match, KO begging for the Jey match, and then Pearce acquiescing. We then get Roman finding out it was Pearce that booked it, and then clips from the KO and Jey match with Owens winning, hitting another stunner afterwards, assaulting Jey, and then taking him out, getting attacked by Roman, and then the beatdown on KO.
But back in the ring, Jey is fuming behind Pearce. Roman is looking flippantly, and he asks Pearce, what does he have to say for himself? And Pearce says,
"What do you want me to say about that, Roman?"
I don't like the different voices that Adam Pearce has. He turns to Batman and then he turns back into Adam Pearce. I don't understand why he's doing it so much here.
It's literally what happened. That's so good. He absolutely did. He went full Dark Knight there.
Yes, I don't understand it.
So Roman tells him that he wants Pearce to be a man.
I want you to take responsibility.
He was done with KO, moving forward. And what happened?
He went to his friend, Adam Pearce.
Someone who's been a friend for that long, someone you think that would care about KO's well-being. And then Roman rhetorically asks Pearce what he does around here. And Roman tells Pearce he already knows, because I am who I am.
I know everything, and the things that I don't, that's why I have Paul here.
And Paul just opens his arms, and it's awesome.
Roman checks the stats and the analytics. They do their job.
What do you do?
And like, I actually remember wondering the same thing in 2021. Like, what does Adam Pearce really do?
Right. Are you a GM? Are you what is an official?
He says that Pearce is supposed to be looking out for the talent, helping them make the right decisions.
You threw him right back into the Shark Tank. Right?
Now KO isn't here and Adam Pearce is to blame. But because Roman is a good guy, he brought him out here to redeem himself.
Yeah, so Pearce has the chance to redeem himself. And what's he do?
You book a gauntlet match?
Taking away the chance for Roman to pick his opponent. And Roman's like really heating up here now.
I've been carried this company for years.
And I can't make the choice myself. I like that.
Roman is now really cutting Pearce down, saying, why doesn't he just put himself in the gauntlet match? Pearce says,
"Why would I do that? Complete conflict of interest."
And Roman says, it's starting to sound like you think I'm stupid. And Pearce says he would never do that. And Roman says, if Pearce isn't stupid...
So you're not stupid. I'm not stupid. So is Vince McMahon stupid?
Is that what he's saying? And that line didn't quite age that well.
No, it did not. And now it's Vince is the man who will not be named, which is even funnier. So Roman finishes off saying, if Pearce isn't stupid and Vince isn't stupid,
saying that Roman Reigns is stupid.
And that's disrespectful to him, to his family, to his bloodline. And when people disrespect them,
there's consequences. You understand?
Roman,
and he grabs Pearce's jacket, and Pearce puts his hands up like says he totally respects him. Roman then takes his hands off. He looks at Pearce and he says,
my mistake.
Maybe right now you're perfectly safe. Pats him on the shoulder, smiles. Paul hands Pearce the microphone, and then the crew walks off. And holy cow, that was something. I was not expecting a enthralling, dramatic 20-minute promo involving Adam Pearce to start the show.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I truly like how Roman, he can spin any situation that we've seen it with Jey, we've seen it with Pearce, we've seen it with literally everybody that has encountered the bloodline so far. Anybody can disrespect him or the family. Like, and rationally, he can't handle others' decisions because he's literally been betrayed so many times in the past. Like, we can go back to Seth turning on the Shield and
the crowd turning on him at the Rumble, right, with The Rock raising his hand, all of that stuff. You're right.
All of these things add up and they all add to this character that he is now. And we're seeing it week in and week out where he just can't, he won't trust anybody and everybody's disrespectful.
So after Big E retains against Apollo Crews, we cut to the back and Pearce is welcoming back Sonya Deville, telling her that he's looking forward to working with her. And as she can tell, he needs the help. I didn't know that he was going to get the help from Sonya Deville though, but here we are. So she alludes to him joining the Gauntlet. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, where did this come from? You know, this is the second allusion to Adam Pearce joining this match. He says that he couldn't beat the ref, let alone Roman. Then as they cut away, Cole asks if he's going to put himself in. And it's just really weird. But then Cole says, but we do know that these 5 guys are in. And they show us the screen again of the graphic of the competitors.
After Rude and Ziggler beat the Street Profits for the tag titles, we go backstage again and Pearce is talking with Sonya when Paul walks in and introduces himself to Sonya. Pearce tells him to save it, and Paul says, I like you.
I don't want any hostility.
My name is Paul Heyman. Nice to see you, sir.
I was the reasonable one out in the ring tonight, if you know.
Yeah, Paul says that he was concerned for Pearce.
I hold you in the greatest respect and admiration.
And Paul talks about the paths that they've taken to get here. And then he says, can Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce think of where he would have been
had you been managed by Paulie dangerously?
And Paul knows his accomplishments and why Pearce was picked for the job. But Pearce didn't want this job. He always wanted
the champion in WWE.
And manipulator Paul is here.
Yes, he is in full force. Paul continues, which is why let's cut to the chase.
I pulled a few strings.
You're in the Gauntlet match. I pulled a few strings and you're in the Gauntlet match. So Pearce has the opportunity to pursue his dream he's had since he was a little baby.
It's courtesy of Roman Reigns.
Paul says that he's so happy for and proud of Adam Pearce, and it was a pleasure doing business with him.
So we move on, and we're now in that Gauntlet match. We kick off with Rey Mysterio being flanked by a sweater-wearing, clean-cut Dominic. The Liberator's out second. And when Sammy caught wind of this Gauntlet, he said that he demanded they put him into the match. And of course, management puts him in a position with the least statistical probability of winning. These aren't coincidences. These are conspiracies targeting Sami Zayn. And this is my weekly someday, Sammy. Someday.
He brought his own camera crew out here.
He did.
Which this isn't the corporate stooges in the WWE. They are private documentarians and exploded at that. So Sammy immediately goes into the ring. He gets 619 and pinned. And Shinsuke is our second man out against Rey.
Yep, so Shinsuke and Rey go back and forth. Shinsuke misses a knee to Rey while he's hanging over the apron. Rey slides out for a sunset flip bomb to the outside. Nakamura counters into a Kinshasa. He rolls in Rey for a really good near fall. And these two are having a nice little mini match. But there was this powerbomb spot where something went really wrong. Shinsuke is trying like a gut wrench or something. It wasn't working, so then he puts him up for a regular power bomb that Rey goes to counter into a Hurricane Rana that Nakamura didn't really take right. They cut away and Nakamura like teleports onto the second rope in 619 position. Rey goes and hits a 619 and he even missed that. It was very strange. A really weird like 6 seconds.
Yeah, that was really weird. And after that spot, Rey goes to the top. He goes for the frog splash. Nakamura catches him, gets him into an armbar, and Mysterio taps. It's now Nakamura versus King Corbin, who is ringside as quickly as Rey taps. Shouts out to the kid, though, in the Brie mode hat. You're a real one. It's Brie mode time.
Absolutely. I wasn't ready to see that, dude. Right up in that corner. So they go on for a few minutes and Nakamura gets an awesome comeback. He's nailing Corbin with strikes, some near falls after some various kicks and drop kicks. Nakamura goes for the Kinshasa. Corbin counters it into a deep 6 for a really good near fall. Nakamura had Corbin in a triangle. Corbin power bombs Nakamura out of it. Charges at Nakamura, slides outside, comes back into the ring, and Nakamura nails him with the Kinshasa and pins him. Next out is Daniel Bryan, and he's firing up to the yes recordings while Nakamura is giving him the come on as we go to break.
So these two start off on fire with Daniel Bryan hitting a drop kick, a barrage of strikes, and a dive to the outside. He goes off the top, but Shinsuke cuts him off with a kick to the guts. Bryan goes for a half crab, to the ankle lock to a German with a beautiful bridge for two. Bryan hit the yes kicks, runs the ropes, and the two trade armbar attempts, and Bryan gets Nakamura in the yes lock, but Nakamura gets to the ropes.
Yeah, this is good stuff here. And as this is going on, Nakamura legit looks gassed.
Yes.
But the nice thing with this is that because these two are such pros, him being gassed made this look more like a struggle. You know what I'm saying? So it was more shootish almost, in that these are two guys really fighting the way that you would gas out if you were in an actual fight. I like that. So Bryan tags Shinsuke with rights, lefts, and then a kick to the side of the head. He hits two corner drop kicks. He's going for a third, and he eats the Kinshasa from Shinsuke, and Nakamura pins Daniel Bryan. And now I'm thinking, is Adam Pearce going to win this freaking thing?
Right. I did not see Daniel Bryan getting pinned here. Daniel Bryan gives Nakamura the handshake. Roman's music hits. Roman, Paul, and Jey come out. And now behind them with the deer in the headlights look is Adam Pearce. And he's coming out in a producer's jacket, sweats, and sneakers. He doesn't even have his own gear.
I like that. I did like that he wasn't planning to work tonight. That was a good little layer.
So Jey slides into the ring first. He starts talking trash to Nakamura and then blasts him. Roman and Jey are now teeing off on Shinsuke, and Adam Pearce is on the outside just watching this.
Jey hits a super kick. Roman hits a Superman punch. In the main event, Jey Uso goes up to the top and hits an Uso splash. Roman then comes out. He puts his arm around Pearce and says,
That's what you need to understand.
"This is my show.
What I want to do.
I employ you."
Do your job.
He throws Pearce into the ring.
Jey immediately super kicks Pearce.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that at all.
Didn't see it coming at all. Roman tells the ref to ring the bell. Jey drags Pearce's carcass on top of Nakamura, and the ref counts 3. Roman extends his hand. Paul gives him the belt, and Roman, Paul, and Jey are standing tall, and Adam Pearce is challenging Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble. So this was totally unexpected. So let's see where we go next. Take us to the next week, Goose.
Yeah, we are at the January 15th, 2021 edition of SmackDown. We start with the recap of the main event angle from last week. The main show begins with Roman backstage. He's in his leather chair. He's reading something. Paul's behind him saying, "They
Deliver the contract for the Royal Rumble 2 minutes before we go on.
but it's the same contract for every pay-per-view match."
They just changed the name of the pay-per-view, and
Paul doesn't like it.
the match needs a stipulation.
Roman needs the chance to be him.
Teach Adam Pearce about fear.
So Paul offers to take the contract off of Roman's hands, and he'll bring it back to Adam Pearce.
You can consider this handled.
We fade from the scene with Roman just sort of scowling.
So Jay's music hits, and Jey makes his way out to the ring without Roman or Paul. He grabs the microphone. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Friday Night SmackDown.
No, scratch that, Oos.
Welcome to
The Bloodline Show.
And this is a big mention here because people will call this the Bloodline Show for years to come. This
Either for better or for worse. Like, people will say it in a good way and a bad way.
Right.
I love the Bloodline Show, or I hate it because it's the Bloodline Show. Pretty cool.
because Jey and his cousin, the head of the table,
My family is the one calling the shots.
not Adam Pearce, not Kevin Owens, or anyone in the WWE universe, we run this show.
Jey tells Adam Pearce he better be careful.
Tell him you're going to find out the hard way at the Rumble.
If we thought we were satisfied with just SmackDown, we better think again. Jey says, we got fresh towels in the locker room,
Y'all should be saying, thank you, Roman.
hot food and catering.
Thank you, Roman.
And so Jey officially did thank you, Trish, years before Trish was even thinking about making a comeback.
Jey says, as for him, the right-hand man of the head of the table, he's coming to get his. Step 1.
Declaring my entry in the Royal Rumble match.
Step 2.
I'm going to win the Royal Rumble match.
Step 3, he's going to go to Monday Night Raw. He's going to whoop Drew McIntyre.
Any WWE champion at WrestleMania.
This was a moment because there is insane amount of foreshadowing here because, spoiler alert, He literally does this 4 years later in live time where we're at right now. Even like down to calling out the Raw champion. Like everything that Jey laid out here is literally happening in live time as we're speaking today.
Yeah, and especially like you said, the Raw champion. That's the nuts thing,
Right.
is that it's down to that little detail. So he says that he's going to do this because it's his family, his bloodline, and they rule the whole WWE. But before the Rumble,
He got business with Shinsuke Nakamura.
he says everybody's talking about his performance in the Gauntlet. He beat Rey Mysterio,
Baron Big Head Corbin.
even Daniel Bryan. But once the bloodline said
Not tonight, Oos. He was done.
Nakamura should thank them for letting him survive.
Jey says, you want to cross his family? Nakamura is going to leave in a stretcher or worse. He's going to put him down, and Nakamura's music hits. Graves says that Shinsuke has captured the imagination of the WWE universe. So Shinsuke grabs the mic and says, if your cousin Roman Reigns is the big dog, that makes you his little puppy. And he whaps Jey in the side of the head with a kick, and Nak and Jey are 1-on-1 next.
Yeah, he caught me off guard with that puppy line, especially the way that he said it, dude. It was great delivery.
Yes.
So Shinsuke starts off in control. Jey cuts him off with an elbow. And while he's getting the heat, Cole and Graves are talking about the work that Paul's doing backstage to get stipulations in on this Roman and Adam Pearce match. Shinsuke starts a comeback with an enziguri, a curtain call, and he gets a few knees into the gut. Nakamura then gets Jey into a chin lock. And I was about to get angry, but he takes Jey, throws him into the turnbuckle. As he does that, Cesaro's music hits. Jey's distracted. Shinsuke hits a baseball slide, kicking Jey into the announcer's table, and then throwing him into the steps as we go to commercial. And I'm thinking here, isn't Shinsuke supposed to be the babyface? Like chin lock, distraction, and then into the steps? What are we doing?
Super confusing. And Cesaro is now on commentary, and he says he's here for his friend Shinsuke, but he couldn't make it out last week because Tropicana Field is so big. Like, what are we talking about here? Jey cuts off Shinsuke with an enziguri off the apron and then drives his head into the mat to get the heat again. Jey does a hip attack in the corner, so there's 2 matches in a row. 2 that we finally got, where while this is all going on, Cesaro declares for the Rumble. Cesaro here is just super distracting. It was pissing me off. And so he says when he wins, he's going to challenge Roman Reigns. Well, womp womp.
Right, just completely out of place. Whatever. At least he has a tracksuit over a shirt and tie. So Nakamura gets a near fall after a knee to Jey from the top rope, goes for the Kinshasa. Jey cuts him off with a super kick, goes for an Uso splash. Nak gets the knees up. Jey's now on the turnbuckle. Nakamura goes for a spear. Jey ducks out. Nakamura hits his shoulder on the post. Jey rolls him up for the 3 count, but his feet were on the ropes. Little Nate calls it off. Jey argues with him. This now allows Nakamura to hit a Kinshasa, and he pins Jey. So now, John, 2 weeks in a row, jobbed out Jey. Please, I cut you off last week. Give me what you got with this allegory between Jey and Solo.
Yeah, so going back to my point last week about Jey being Solo before Solo, where Jey genuinely, he can't win a match. He can't buy a match. But at the same time, he's being coined as main event Jey Uso. So like, as we'll see over time, Jey is so superior that he's able to overcome all of these booking setbacks, but they've tried so hard in current day Bloodline to make Solo this way, but it's just simply not translating the way that it does for Jey. Like, we actually want to see Jey win because he can't get out of his own way, but it's because Roman is in his way. Like, we just want Jey to persevere. We want Jey to be his own man. We don't want to see him being held down by Roman, but it's not like they're doing the same thing with Solo. No one's putting the thumb down on Solo to hold him down. They're just kind of letting him go. Whereas like the difference with Jey is that he was having the thumb put down on him to hold him down.
Right, from the very beginning. After Bayley does a ding-dong hello plug, Sonya's backstage with Adam Pearce. She says that she's seen his stuff on YouTube, and she honestly thinks he still ends up fighting chance against Roman. Pearce says he appreciates that, but he hasn't been that guy in a long time.
Slides in, he shakes Sonya's hand and says, Mr. Pearce,
The agreement from the tribal chief.
you hold in your hands the opportunity of a lifetime. Not only do you get to main event the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, you have the opportunity
Never presented to scrap that.
And Paul is going through the gravity of this moment for Pearce when he stops, and he looks right at Sonya and says,
God, your perfume is effective.
I explode. That was incredible. It was so out of left field. The delivery was incredible. A+ job for Heyman again.
Yeah, it's the Bloodline show, but Paul's the main character here. He's so good at this. He gathers himself and says the stipulations are tilted in Adam Pearce's favor because not only is this match for the Universal Championship,
No disqualification.
and Pearce cuts him off and says this is ridiculous. He
Only sees me getting injured.
But whatever, he'll sign it.
So we come back from a Rumble promo vid, and Jey is arguing with Charles Robinson, and Jey tells Charles he's going to get fired for messing with the Chief. Charles gets dead serious. What do you mean? And Jey says, Charles, do your job. So after a Street Profits promo, we cut backstage, and Roman is saying,
It's all about control.
and they just pan over to Apollo Crews. What was this?
Yeah, was not expecting to see him back there. So Paul slides in and says,
Signed. Sealed.
and Roman tells him he could stay. He can learn from this. Roman tells Paul that he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do no DQ. And Paul's taken aback. Roman said he never wanted a no DQ.
I want a last man standing match.
Paul says he'll never go for it. And Roman says he's going to because you're going to make him. When you see him,
I want you to tell him that he's going to sign this contract.
in the ring tonight. And Paul,
I'll consider this handled.
Paul is looking worn out. He shakes his head and leaves, and Roman tells Apollo it's all under control, not just for you.
I don't do it for myself.
Like, this is just such a bizarro pairing. I don't understand where they're going with this. So after Baron Corbin beats Ray, Adam Pearce is walking backstage. Paul passes him. He just is carrying the most wonderful grin on his face that you've ever seen Paul deliver here.
so Pierce asks if Roman signed, and Paul says,
Bit of a wrinkle. No.
and Pierce will be happy because Roman agreed with Pierce's thoughts on the stipulations. And Paul tries to butter him up and tells Pierce that
Last man standing.
Pierce looks at the contract, looks at Paul, and Paul tells him to take his time. He can sign it in the ring tonight with Roman Reigns. And
Consider this handled.
Later on, Cesaro beats Daniel Bryan. We get a Carmella and Sasha Banks confrontation, and Apollo Crews, fresh off of his convo with Roman, is going to face Sami Zayn. We had a flashback to Talking Smack last week with Paul Heyman pumping up Apollo. That makes his backstage segment that they just had it makes a little more sense here. So Apollo beats Sammy with a roll-up by grabbing the tights, and Sammy nearly full mooning us, and we finally go to break.
we come back from break, and Roman, Paul, and Jey are making their way out to the ring. There's a table set up, and Adam Pearce is making his way down. Pearce is tentative. He sits down first. Roman's standing at the head of the table. Paul says, You
want to be at the head of the table? I understand.
understand, and goes to move the chair. Roman stops him, and Paul's kind of shook.
He tells Pearce, in the interest of time and civility, especially with Roman Reigns' civility, that we get this contract signed. And Jey tells Pearce,
Get your ass up, Pierce. Yeah, taking all day, man.
Roman is now sitting at the head of the table. Pearce then sits down. Roman tells him to sign. Paul says, not making for good television. Pearce signs. He passes the contract to Roman, and Paul calls Pearce passive aggressive.
Roman is just looking overjoyed. He signs. Pearce takes the contract. Roman smiles. And Adam Pearce says,
I've waited all night for you to do that.
Roman's face totally then changes. Pearce gets the contract, literally gets up and walks right out of the ring. And as he does, the old trick knee goes out on him. And I'm thinking, was that table poisoned? What just happened here?
Pearce says,
My knee's been bothering me all.
Those old injuries creeps up on you, but don't worry. As you know, standard WWE contracts all say the same thing.
Card subject to change.
And as a WWE official, I deserve the right because
I'm not sure I'll be medically cleared.
but in fact, a suitable replacement is just what I had in mind. Kevin Owens comes out, he signs the contract, And we're going to watch these guys kill each other one last time at the Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title.
Love it, man. So we were too jam-packed this week for any dirt sheet trip. We'll get there next week. So why don't you just jump right ahead and take us to who is on this week's Island of Relevancy?
Oh, it's an easy one. We're putting Adam Pearce for pulling the old okey doke on Roman with a great moment. I thought that this was a fun watch, and I can't wait to see where we're going here with the Rumble. So what are you tossing into the ocean of obscurity this week, Goose?
I'm actually going to toss in the fact that they teased me with Pearce actually going to be in the Rumble. By the time the angle was done and we got the whole way to the last man standing match, I was kind of all the way ready for it. Right. I'm very excited for Kevin Owens, but I was a little hyped up to see this. So I'm tossing in the tease, but it's with good reason.
All right, so with that is part 14 of the Bloodline Rewind. We are coming back with the go-home shows for the Royal Rumble. So make sure that if you are not subscribed, you subscribe to the channel, you like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you are enjoying here on the Bloodline Rewind, and what you thought of Adam Pearce's involvement here. So with that, I'm Johnny Bake Show.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.